you ever lost an argument, yet somehow slept better that night than the person who won? Have you ever watched someone step aside in a crowded moment, and later it felt like life stepped aside for them in return? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about a life skill that looks like weakness to the impatient mind, but often turns out to be the hidden engine of long-term fortune. It is the idea of giving way by 3 feet. Not literally measuring the road with a ruler, but choosing to create space instead of collision. Choosing to yield a little, not because you are afraid, but because you understand cause and effect. Choosing to step back, not because you are small, but because you are awake. I want to place 2 ideas into your hands immediately, because they will guide everything that follows. The first idea is that most people are not suffering from a lack of strength. They are suffering from a lack of spaciousness. They keep tightening their inner world until every small friction becomes a fight. When you learn to create space, your life stops breaking into pieces over tiny sparks. The second idea is that yielding is not the same as surrender. Surrender is giving up your dignity. Yielding is protecting your dignity by refusing to trade your peace for a small win. Yielding is a form of wisdom. It is compassion with boundaries. It is the middle way in daily life. Neither aggression nor self-erasure. Now let me take you into a story. I will call the main character John. Not his real name. But his story is common enough that you might recognize pieces of it in your own life, your family, your workplace, or the streets you walk every day. John was a hard-working man in his late 30s. He was not cruel. He was not dishonest. He had principles, and he believed those principles were what kept life from falling apart. He believed in fairness. He believed that if you let people take advantage of you, they will do it again and again. He believed you must protect your boundaries, protect your rights, protect your face. He believed that if you do not fight back, you will be crushed. And to be fair, John had reasons to believe that. He grew up watching adults argue over money, over land, over status. He learned early that being gentle could get you stepped on. He learned that sometimes the loudest person in the room got what they wanted. He learned that people often respect force more than kindness. So he built a life strategy that looked like strength. Never give up an inch. John carried that strategy into everything. Driving, work meetings, neighborhood dispute, family conversation, even small shopping situation. If someone cut in line, he confronted them. If someone bumped his shoulder, he glared. If a colleague took credit for a small piece of his work, he demanded correction. He told himself he was protecting justice, but there was a hidden cost. John was always tired. Not tired from work alone, tired from constant inner readiness to fight. His nervous system lived like a guard dog that never slept. He would come home and still replay conversation. He would rehearse what he should have said. He would imagine future conflicts and plan how to win them. Even when he sat with his family, part of his mind stayed outside the door, listening for threats. That is what many people call being strong. But it is not strength. It is chronic tension. And chronic tension eventually collects payment. One afternoon, John drove to pick up his child from an after-school class. It was raining lightly. The streets were crowded. Everyone wanted to get home. You know the atmosphere. People become impatient because they feel trapped. The rain makes everything slower. Horns become language. Small mistakes become insults. John turned into a narrow lane near the school. 2 cars approached each other from opposite direction. There was only enough space for one to pass. The lane was lined with parked vehicles, leaving a single tight channel in the middle. John stopped. The other car stopped too. For a moment, both drivers stared at each other through wet glass. This was the exact kind of moment that reveals who you are. If you have a spacious heart, you might gesture politely and let the other pass. You might lose 5 seconds and keep your mood. If you have a tight heart, you might treat this as a test of dominance. You might think, if I yield, I lose. John had a tight heart that day. He flashed his headlights. The other driver did not move. John inched forward. The other driver inched forward too. Now both cars were closer. The space narrower. The tension thicker. John felt heat rise in his chest. He thought, why should I back up? I arrived first. He thought, if I back up now, he will think I am weak. He thought, I am not the kind of person who lets others push me. The other driver rolled down his window and shouted something rude. Not the kind of sentence you can forget easily. The kind of sentence that grabs your pride by the throat. John rolled down his window and shouted back. Words flew. Rain fell. Engines idled. A few pedestrians looked over. One person shook their head and walked away. John felt his child in the back seat growing quiet. Children sensed tension like animals sense weather. The child did not speak, but John could feel the fear behind the silence. That should have been enough to stop him. But pride is a powerful drug. Pride tells you that winning is more important than love. Pride tells you that face is more important than your child feeling safe. So John kept going. The argument escalated. Both men stepped out of their cars in the rain. The lane became blocked. More cars arrived behind them. People started honking. Someone shouted to move. John felt surrounded, not by enemies, but by witnesses. And when some people feel watched, they become more stubborn because they do not want to lose face publicly. The other driver stepped closer and poked John's shoulder. John pushed his hand away. The other driver pushed again. John shoved him. The man stumbled back. A woman nearby gasped. Someone pulled out a phone. The child in John's car began crying. At that sound, something inside John cracked. Not because he suddenly became wise, because the reality finally pierced his pride. He looked back and saw his child crying. Hands covering the face, body shaking. The child did not understand rights and wrongs. The child only felt danger. John suddenly felt sick. His stomach tightened. His throat went dry. The rain felt colder. The other driver was still shouting. People were still honking. The phone was still recording. But John heard something else inside himself. A quiet voice that sounded older than his anger. What are you doing? John stepped back. He raised his hands slightly. Not in surrender, but in refusal to continue. He said, enough. Just go. The other driver hesitated, surprised. Then the driver rushed back to his car and drove through. John got back into his own car, reversed slowly, and pulled aside to let the line move. The whole incident took maybe 3 minutes, but the damage lasted much longer. John drove away with shaking hands. His child kept crying quietly for several minutes. John wanted to say something, but his mouth could not find the right words. If he apologized, he would have to admit he was wrong. If he blamed the other driver, he would sound like a coward. He was trapped between shame and pride, and both were painful. That night, after putting his child to sleep, John sat alone at the kitchen table. The apartment was quiet, but his mind was loud. He replayed the rain, the lane, the shouting, the phone recording, his child crying. He realized something horrifying. He had been ready to risk everything for a lane. A lane. That was the moment John started understanding the meaning of giving way by 3 feet. Not as a moral slogan, but as survival wisdom. The next day, John met an older neighbor named Mr. Han in the elevator. Mr. Han was in his 70s, calm, slow, with eyes that looked like they had seen many seasons without becoming bitter. Mr. Han noticed John's tired face and asked if everything was okay. John wanted to say yes. His pride wanted to keep the mask, but his body was too heavy. He admitted what happened, briefly, without details. Mr. Han listened and nodded gently. Then he said something that sounded simple, but carried weight. When two people insist on being right in a narrow lane, both become stuck. The problem is never the lane. The problem is the mind that cannot create space. John asked, so what should I do? Just let people bully me? Mr. Han smiled, not mocking, just patient. You think yielding is being bullied. That is because you confuse dignity with control. Dignity is not control. Dignity is not letting your anger control you. Jun stayed silent. Mr. Han continued, when you give way by 3 feet, you are not giving away your life. You are buying back your peace. You are also planting a seed. The seed is kindness. The seed is patience. The seed is non-conflict. Seeds grow. Later you will meet the fruit. Jun wanted to believe him, but another part of him resisted. He said, but if I keep yielding, people will keep taking. Mr. Han nodded. Yes, some people will take if you yield without boundaries. So do not yield like a frightened person. Yield like a wise person. You can yield the lane and still keep your boundaries. You can step aside and still keep your principles. The difference is your heart stays clean. Jun did not fully understand, but he felt something in that sentence. Heart stays clean. That sounded like spiritual language, but it also sounded practical, because Jun already knew what a dirty heart felt like. It felt like replay, bitterness, shame, insomnia, tension in the shoulders. Mr. Han pressed the elevator button and added one more line before leaving. If you want your life to go smoothly, do not turn every small friction into a destiny war. A destiny war. Jun thought about those words all day, because that was exactly what he did. He turned small friction into destiny war. A driver cut in line. Destiny war. A colleague said something rude. Destiny war. A neighbor made noise. Destiny war. A spouse misunderstood him. Destiny war. No wonder he felt exhausted. He was living like every moment was a battlefield. Now here is where Jun's story becomes a real turning point. A week later, Jun had a conflict with someone in his building. The neighbor upstairs had been doing renovation, making loud noise at strange hours. Jun had complained before. The neighbor had ignored him. Jun felt disrespected again. He felt the old he tries. He was about to storm upstairs and shout. Then he remembered the lane. He remembered his child crying. He remembered Mr. Han words. He paused. That pause is the first 3 feet. Most people think giving way means giving something external. But the first thing you yield is the immediate impulse. You yield the reflex to explode. Jun took a breath. He went upstairs anyway. But he went with a different plan. He knocked on the door and waited. When the neighbor opened, Jun spoke calmly. I understand renovation is necessary. I am not trying to stop you. But the noise after 9 p.m. is affecting my child's sleep. Can we agree on quiet hours? The neighbor looked surprised. He expected anger. He expected fighting. Calm is disarming, because it does not give the other person the drama they prepared for. The neighbor shrugged, said he would try. Jun did not trust the promise, but he also did not attack. He said thank you and returned home. That night, the noise stopped earlier than usual. It did not stop completely forever, but it improved. Jun felt something new. It felt like he did not lose. It felt like he won without fighting. That is the second truth of giving way. When you stop burning your life force in conflict, you gain leverage you never had before. You gain clarity. You gain timing. You gain strategy. You gain the ability to speak in a way that protects dignity without poisoning the room. In spiritual terms, you gain merit. Merit is not a mystical coin. It is the accumulation of clean intention and skillful action that creates better conditions over time. Now I want to deepen this, because some of you might still be skeptical. You might say, okay, Jun avoided fights. But how does that make a whole life smoother? How does giving way by 3 feet change destiny? This is where we need to understand the invisible math of life. Most of your suffering is not created by huge disasters. It is created by thousands of small frictions multiplied by your reaction. A small friction plus a calm response becomes a small event. Then, it passes. A small friction plus a hot response becomes conflict, then regret, then distance, then reputation damage, then stress, then health decline. One spark becomes a forest fire. So when you learn to give way, you are not giving away your rights. You are stopping the multiplication of suffering. That is why life becomes smoother. Jun began practicing this in small places. Not perfectly, but he tried. He tried it when driving. If someone cut him off, he let them go instead of chasing. He told himself, I am protecting my mind. He tried it at work. If someone criticized him, he asked questions instead of defending instantly. He tried it at home. If his spouse said something that sounded harsh, he paused before replying. He noticed something. His body started feeling lighter. When you live in constant readiness to fight, your body holds tension. The jaw tightens, the stomach tightens, the shoulders rise, the breath becomes shallow. You think you are strong, but you are actually poisoning your own system. When Jun practiced giving way, his breath deepened. He slept better. His headaches reduced. His face looked less sharp. His child seemed less anxious around him. That alone is a form of fortune. Now, a few months later, Jun faced a much bigger test. And this is where the story becomes truly about destiny. At work, Jun was competing for a promotion. He had been working hard for years. He believed he deserved it. Another colleague, a younger man named Wei, was also competing. Wei was talented, but he also had a habit of pushing himself forward, sometimes stepping on others quietly. One day, a key project went wrong. There was confusion about who was responsible. A manager asked for explanation. Wei hinted that Jun team delayed part of the process. The implication was clear. If blame landed on Jun, the promotion would be gone. Old Jun would have exploded. He would have attacked Wei in the meeting. He would have tried to humiliate him. He would have made the room ugly. And maybe he would have felt relief for a moment, like he defended himself. But Jun remembered the lane again. He remembered that winning ugly can cost you more than losing quietly. So he did something different. He spoke calmly. He presented facts. He did not accuse. He clarified timeline and responsibilities without poison. He offered solutions to fix the project. He made the manager job easier by focusing on results instead of drama. The meeting ended. Wei looked annoyed because he did not get the emotional reaction he wanted. Emotional reaction is what manipulators use as proof that you are unstable. Later, the manager called Jun privately. The manager said, I noticed how you handled pressure. You stayed calm and focused on solutions. That is leadership. Jun got the promotion. Now, if you only look at surface events, you might say Jun got lucky. But this was not random. This was the fruit of giving way by 3 feet in the right moment. Because giving way created space. Space allowed Jun to act from wisdom. Wisdom created trust. Trust opened the door. This is how destiny moves in real life. Not through magic fireworks, but through repeated cause and effect. Now I want to expand this into a larger understanding. Because the phrase giving way by 3 feet can sound like a small etiquette tip. But it is actually a deep principle that touches karma, compassion, wisdom, and the shape of your life. Let us talk about 3 kinds of lanes you face. There is the physical lane, like the road, the hallway, the line at the store. There is the social lane, like workplace politics, family disputes, friend misunderstandings. There is the inner lane, the most important one, the lane inside your mind where thoughts and emotions collide. Most people focus on physical lane fights, but the biggest battles happen in the inner lane. Pride and fear meet. Shame and anger meet. Need for approval and fear of rejection meet. If you cannot give way inside, you will keep colliding outside. So the deeper practice is to give way inside first. When anger rises, give it 3 feet, not by suppressing it, but by creating a pause, a breath, a space between impulse and speech. When pride rises, give it 3 feet. Ask yourself, what am I protecting? Is it dignity? Or is it ego? When fear rises, give it 3 feet. Ask, am I reacting to reality? Or to a story in my head? This inner giving way is the beginning of liberation. In Buddhist language, you could call it mindfulness. You notice, and you do not immediately obey. You observe the mind like weather, and you do not let weather become a command. Now, let me tell you another story inside this story. Because John is one type of person. Some of you are not aggressive drivers or loud arguers. Some of you are the opposite. You avoid conflict, but you suffer inside because you swallow everything. You might think giving way means staying silent while your heart rots. That is not giving way. That is self-abandonment. So I want to introduce another character. I will call her Leela. Leela was kind and quiet. She disliked conflict. She believed being gentle meant never making trouble. So she gave way all the time, but not with wisdom. She gave way with fear. At work, she let colleagues dump tasks on her. In family, she let relatives insult her. In relationships, she let partners ignore her boundaries. She thought she was practicing virtue. But inside, resentment grew. Resentment is what happens when you yield without clarity. One day, Leela exploded, not in one big fight, but in a slow breakdown. She became tired, unable to sleep. Her body started getting sick. She felt like she was disappearing. Then she met a mentor, a calm, older woman. The mentor told her something that sounds paradoxical. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is to stop yielding in the wrong way. Leela was confused. The mentor explained, giving way by 3 feet is not letting people walk over you. It is refusing to collide with their poison. But you still keep your line. You still protect your dignity. You still speak truth, just without hatred. This was new to Leela. So she began practicing boundaries. But calmly. When someone tried to dump work, she said, I can help, but not today. If this is urgent, we need to adjust responsibilities. When a relative mocked her, she said, I will not continue this conversation if you speak to me that way. When a partner ignored her, she said, I want a relationship with respect. If that is not possible, I will step away. At first, people reacted with anger because they were used to her surrender. But over time, the right people respected her more. The wrong people left, and Leela felt lighter. This is another form of giving way. She stopped colliding with disrespect by trying to win approval. She stepped aside from the role of victim. She created space and chose her own dignity. That is wisdom. So do not misunderstand today's message. Giving way is not weakness. Giving way is refusing to be dragged into low-level conflict. Giving way is protecting your peace while keeping your boundaries. Giving way is compassion without self-destruction. Now let us return to John again, because his journey continued. And the deeper it went, the more he realized that the smoothness of life is not only about external events. It is about inner cultivation. John began reading, not because he wanted to become a philosopher, but because he felt something shifting and he wanted words for it. He read about the idea that anger is like a hot coal you hold to throw at others, and you burn yourself first. He read about how pride creates suffering because pride needs constant proof. He read about how patience is not passive, but a form of strength. He also began practicing a simple daily reflection at night. Not a long ritual, just a quiet review. Where did I collide today? Where did I create space today? What was the result? He started seeing patterns clearly. When he collided, his whole day felt heavy. Even if he won, the win tasted bitter. When he created space, his day felt lighter. Even if he did not get what he wanted, he still kept his center. That center is the most precious currency. Because when you keep your center, you keep your ability to choose wisely. When you lose your center, your mouth becomes a weapon and your future becomes a mess. Now, a year after the Rainy Lane incident, something unexpected happened. John was driving with his child again. Same kind of after-school pickup. The street was crowded. A car tried to squeeze into his lane suddenly. The driver cut close, almost touching John's bumper. The old John would have honked and chased and shouted. John felt the old he tries. Then he heard his child voice in the back seat. "It is okay, Dad. Let him go. We will be fine." John froze, because he realized his child had learned it from him. Not from his lectures, from his practice. Your children do not inherit your words. They inherit your nervous system. They inherit how you handle pressure. They inherit whether you turn small friction into war. John felt tears behind his eyes. Not dramatic crying, just a quiet sting. He slowed down and let the car pass. He breathed, and he felt something like gratitude. Because in that moment, giving way by 3 feet was not only changing his destiny, it was changing his family destiny. That is the deeper karmic layer. Your choices do not only shape your life, they shape the lives around you. They create atmosphere. Atmosphere becomes the invisible teacher in your home. That teacher influences the next generation. So when you practice patience, you are planting seeds beyond yourself. Now let me bring this into another arena that many of you care about: money. People often think yielding means losing money. But, in many cases, the tight person loses more money in the long run because they burn relationships and create enemies. John used to fight over small money. He would argue with sellers. He would demand tiny discounts. He would hold grudges over small debts. After practicing giving way, he did something different. He stopped chasing small wins that cost him time and mood. He became more strategic. He focused on long-term value. For example, he hired a contractor for a home repair. The contractor made a small mistake. Old John would have exploded and threatened and demanded a huge compensation. New John paused. He asked the contractor to fix it. The contractor apologized and fixed it quickly. The relationship stayed respectful. Later, the contractor helped John with another urgent repair at a lower cost and faster timing. Because trust existed. That trust is worth money. So here is a practical law. When you treat people with calm dignity, even in conflict, you build trust capital. Trust capital returns as help, discounts, recommendations, priority. People call it luck. It is trust capital. Trust capital is built by giving way with wisdom. Now let us talk about the most intimate arena: marriage and love. Many couples destroy their relationship not through one huge betrayal, but through daily collision. Tiny sarcasm, tiny accusation, tiny need to win. John used to bring his work tension home. If his spouse questioned him, he felt challenged. If his spouse disagreed, he felt disrespected. He turned the home into a courtroom. After his shift, he began practicing giving way in conversation. When his spouse spoke sharply, he asked himself, "Is this about me? Or is she tired?" Sometimes people speak sharply not because they want to attack you, but because they are overwhelmed. If you attack back, you turn their overwhelm into war. So John started responding differently. He would say, "You sound exhausted. Do you want to talk? Or do you want quiet?" His spouse was surprised at first. Then she softened. Their home atmosphere changed. Not because they never argued again. They did. But the arguments became shorter. They did not spiral into cruelty. They did not last days. The relationship became smoother. This is another form of destiny. A peaceful home is a fortune. Many people are rich and still miserable because their home is war. Many people have modest income and still feel blessed because their home is warm. Warmth is built by daily choices. Giving way is one of the most powerful daily choices. Now, you might still wonder, where is the boundary? When should you yield? And when should you stand firm? This is where wisdom comes in. If you yield because you are afraid, you will resent later. If you yield because you are awake, you will feel free later. So the key is not the external action. The key is the inner posture. Let me explain with a simple example. If someone insults you and you stay silent because you feel powerless, that silence is not giving way. That silence is swallowing poison. But if someone insults you and you choose not to engage because you know the insult is bait, and you calmly set a boundary or walk away, that is giving way. In the first case, you lose dignity. In the second case, you keep dignity. The outer behavior might look similar, silence, but the inner posture is completely different. So do not copy behavior. Train inner posture. Train the ability to create space and choose response. That is the real practice. Now, because this is a long-form video script, I want to take you deeper into the spiritual logic. Because some of you watching are not only trying to have a smoother week, you are trying to transform your life. You want to change your karma. You want to change your destiny. Here is the deeper claim. Giving way by 3 feet is a karmic reset. Why? Because most karma is created through reaction. Reaction creates speech. Speech creates harm. Harm creates retaliation. Retaliation creates cycles. If you stop reacting, you stop the cycle. Stopping cycles is liberation. In Buddhist terms, you are cutting the chain of dependent arising in daily life. One trigger does not automatically lead to anger, then harsh speech, then regret. You interrupt the chain. That interruption is awakening. Every time you interrupt the chain, you plant a new seed. The seed is patience. Patience is not weakness. Patience is strength that refuses to become poison. And patience has an invisible power. People trust patient people because they do not fear sudden explosion. People help patient people because they feel safe. People open doors for patient people because they want stability near them. So patience becomes a magnet for benefactor energy. Not because the universe plays favorites, but because human beings prefer stability. They prefer someone who does not turn every small friction into war. So you could say giving way by 3 feet makes life smoother because it changes how people respond to you. It changes your reputation. It changes your relationships. It changes your opportunities. And it changes your health. Because a nervous system that is not constantly fighting recovers better. Sleep improves. Digestion improves. Mood stabilizes. Your face softens. Your voice becomes calmer. People feel that too. So the practice of giving way is not only moral. It is physiological. It is social. It is spiritual. It is one of the rare practices that improves everything at once. Now, I want to share a story of someone who refused to learn this lesson, because contrast is sometimes the sharpest teacher. John had a cousin named Tao. Tao was proud of being tough. He would say, "If you do not fight, you lose." He would say, "The world respects force." He would say, "I never let anyone take advantage of me." Tao was constantly in conflict. He fought with neighbors over parking. He fought with colleagues over credit. He fought with family over inheritance details. He fought with strangers over small accidents. At first, Tao looked powerful. Then slowly, his life became narrow. People avoided him. They did not invite him to gatherings because he could turn anything into an argument. Colleagues did not recommend him for leadership because he created tension. Friends stopped sharing opportunities because Tao always wanted more. Tao did not notice the real reason. He blamed everyone. He said people are weak. People are jealous. But the truth was simpler. People felt unsafe. Unsafe people do not receive support. That is not punishment. That is natural selection in social life. One day Tao had a serious problem. A business issue. He needed help. He reached out to people he thought were friends. They replied slowly. They gave excuses. They kept distance. Tao felt betrayed. He said, "People are cold." But Jun saw the deeper truth. Tao had spent years training people not to help him by making every interaction costly. Helping Tao meant risking a fight later. So people avoided the risk. That is karma. Karma is not only what happens to you. Karma is how your repeated behavior trains the world to respond to you. Jun watched Tao and felt grateful for his own shift. He realized giving way was not making him weaker. It was making him safer to others and safer to himself. Now, I want to bring all this into a final long reflection that feels personal. Because the end of a long video should not be cold. It should feel like sitting with a friend who has lived something and wants to save you years of unnecessary suffering. There was a time in my life when I thought being right was the same as being safe. I thought if I could just prove my point, the world would finally respect me. I thought if I could just win the argument, my dignity would be restored. But what actually happened is that the more I fought, the more I trained my mind to live in war. And a mind that lives in war cannot rest, even when the external fight ends. Then I met people who lived differently. They were not cowards. They were not naive. They could say no. They could set boundaries. But they did not rush to collide. They created space. They let small things pass. They protected their peace like it was sacred. And because they protected it, life around them felt smoother. People supported them more. Opportunities came easier. Their health looked better. Their eyes looked calmer. At first, I thought they were lucky. Then I realized they were disciplined. Disciplined in the hardest way. They were disciplined enough to not obey every ego impulse. They were disciplined enough to yield the first 3 feet inside their own heart. And that inner yielding prevented outer disasters. That is when I began to understand that giving way by 3 feet is not a trick to please people. It is a vow to not poison your own destiny. Because destiny is not only one big event. Destiny is the accumulation of your daily reactions. If your daily reactions are tight, your destiny becomes tight. If your daily reactions are spacious, your destiny becomes spacious. So the question is not, should I yield or should I fight? The deeper question is, what kind of person do I want to become under pressure? A person who creates more suffering, or a person who reduces suffering? A person who spreads poison, or a person who protects peace? A person who wins small battles but loses the heart, or a person who loses small battles and keeps the heart clean? That choice is karma. That choice is practice. That choice is destiny. Now I want to end by giving you something you can carry into your next conflict. Because this topic only matters if it becomes action. The next time you feel the urge to collide, the urge to prove, the urge to win, pause for one breath and ask yourself one simple question. If I insist on my way right now, what will I lose? Will I lose my peace tonight? Will I lose trust? Will I lose health? Will I lose warmth in my home? Will I plant a seed of resentment that will grow later? And if you decide this moment is not worth it, then give way by 3 feet. Not with bitterness, with clarity, with dignity, with compassion. You might be shocked by what happens. Sometimes the other person softens. Sometimes the situation resolves faster. Sometimes you keep your mood and your whole day stays lighter. Sometimes a witness notices your maturity and later becomes a benefactor. Sometimes nothing changes externally, but your inner world becomes freer. And that is the deepest win. Because when your inner world is free, your outer world becomes more workable. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment where giving way saved you from a bigger disaster? Or have you ever insisted on winning a small conflict and later realized you paid with your peace? Share your story in the comments. Someone else might be standing in their own narrow lane tonight, ready to fight, and your words might be the 3 feet of space that saves them. If you want more long-form videos like this, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment so more people can find this channel. And if you want to support the channel and help keep these deep stories coming, consider joining the membership. Your support helps us keep building a space for wisdom. Cause and effect, daily practice, and the quiet art of changing destiny from the inside out.
Life gets noisy. Work, stress, expectations. Sometimes we lose touch with the quiet part of ourselves. Bracelet isn't just an accessory. It's a small reminder that you deserve peace. You deserve moments of stillness. You deserve to hold on to your inner balance. If one of these bracelets speaks to your heart, you'll find the purchase link in the description below. And even more auctions available on our channel's shop page. Pick home the one that feels right.